Well, good morning and thank you for being here. It's a awesome morning to see everybody and just talk and listen it's just really heartfelt to see everybody. Anyway, Creator God, I'm going to start with a prayer. Creator God, we are thankful. We are thankful for our resilient health, mind, body, and soul. We thank you for our community and their health, their sharing, their love, their joy, their happiness. We are grateful for our families that we love and that you protect. You protect them with love. We are grateful for your blessing of health, positive attitude, and our love for our community. God, we love you and welcome you with an open heart. Love, and so it is. So it is. Opening song.
I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am giving the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here.
My soul is welcome here. Thank you so much. That was a song by Lori and Kenny. Wow, that was cool. Please mute anybody. I would appreciate that because you come in. So please mute. Would appreciate that. Thank you. So our mission is to teach and model, create loving, open-minded spirituality with respect to culture and religious diversity. My Spanish came in. We encourage peace-loving people of all ages, races, beliefs, and lifestyles to embrace their own unique and perfect divine potential. All welcome. We thank you for being here this morning. We thank you. We thank you for that music too. That was awesome. That was awesome. Next slide, please. So, and Interfaith Prayer Ministry. Our prayer ministers include Unity prayer chaplains, lay people committed to the confidential support of all who ask for prayer. Submit your prayers. And here's our email and our phone number. So, and man, is that young man just praying. You can see the love in his heart. Wow. Next slide, please. We're going to be doing a candle lighting.
Now, if you haven't joined us before on Sunday morning, you know that I ask if you have a candle in your home to please light the candles and share with us. And this evening, we will be doing a candle lighting at our prayer Zoom at 7:30 in honor of Phil Dakin, who made his transition. Sarah is going to be joining us as well, and maybe even his daughter, Laura. So we're going to be doing that this evening at 7:30. So join us with the candles if it works for you. We gather this morning and open our hearts to celebrate, to explore, to learn, to understand, and to share in this circle of community. We light the first candle as a sign of our willingness to live in gratitude. Our second candle, our willingness to live as mindful listeners. Our third candle, and our willingness to live in a space of faith, resting in God's amazing grace. Our human experience is sacred. It is sacred in its being born. It is sacred in its day-to-day journey because of God's amazing grace. May we open our minds and our hearts to this gift. May we be grateful for its power and its presence. May we affirm the guidance for us as mindful listeners. May we accept our faith over fear and rest in God's amazing grace.
And Amazing Grace by Cliff. Thank you, Cliff. That was amazing, amazing grace. I sure enjoyed that. Thank you. And now from the Daily Word. From the Daily Word, we have positive. I'm positive in all my thoughts and actions. It is easy to feel overwhelmed by what seems like a never-ending stream of distressing news. When people around me are caught up in fearful, anxious, or agitated states, I remain determined to not be swept up in negativity. I choose instead to take a stand and focus on the positive. My first step is to surround myself with other positive people. With their support, I find it easier to stay positive. I keep my thoughts, actions, optimism, as I encourage others to do the same. I believe blessings are everywhere, and good can come out of all things. Even if an event seems troubling, I'm grateful for the seeds of good it holds. My positivity is infectious as I share words of truth with everyone I meet. See, these are their happy ways, and out of earth still others will spring. Job 8:19, Job. Poor Job, boy, read up a lot on him. He had a rough situation anyway. I want to raise the question, are you a positive person? Do you wake up in the morning and say, it's going to be a good day? Or do you wake up in the morning and say, it's going to be a bad day? You create your day. If you say bad day, guess what? It will be a bad day. If you say good day, it's going to wind up being a good day. But it's important to repeat, repeat, repeat. I believe in positive thought. In 1982, my life was going really, really very badly. My work was suffering. My attitude was very negative, and I was angry about a job I was overlooked by. It was an important job, and I had gone after it, but due to politics, I did not get it. I knew I had to change. I knew I had to change my attitude. I discovered a book called Positive Mental Attitude by Napoleon Hill. I read it, and my positive mental attitude started changing. The job I wanted, I didn't get it. Yet, I was hired into a different job with a substantial pay increase, better than the original job, and more interesting duties, which required me to travel, which was, well, it was quite nice. Even to this day, the opportunities were wide open with that job. Even to this day, the positive thoughts are real important. But for me, the I am is very important. I've learned 6 years ago that I am is very strong. So here are some of the positive words that I use. I am healthy. My health is strong and vibrant. I repeat that a lot, all throughout the day. I am happy. My attitude is joyful. I repeat that all throughout the day. Now, I am grace. I learned about grace 2 weeks ago. My grace cup is full. Those are all positive attitudes or positive statements, with the I am, because the I am reaches into your heart and is very strong. And as Joe Goldsmith says, it's in the now. And it's important to be in the now. So those are my positive thoughts for today. And at this time, next slide, please. June theme, what's in your spiritual toolbox? Thank you for remaining muted until service is over when we call all Zoom chat together. Love those Zoom chats. Love those Zoom chats. Next slide, please. In the spiritual toolbox, Rev J talked about gratitude, faith, and listening. And she's going to talk some more. If you take a look at the slide, gladly renewed, amazing comfort every day. Grace. What is your safety net? Well, here's Reverend J. Give her a big round of applause.
You know, it's kind of interesting because one of the things that this blink of an eye change that we had about 3 months ago that really did catch me off guard. And I would imagine that I'm not the only one that was taken by surprise with that change, and then the continuous changes and the variations of different change. And here we are on Zoom, but yet we're still together. And that says a lot for me to be together. But yet at the same time, we all have seen in so many different ways change. Now, this past month, as you know, we have focused on God's toolbox. And we really began because of the importance of gratitude. And Manny was talking about positive thinking. Positive thinking is one of the very first steps you're going to go if you're going to be into gratitude, because you're looking for those little bits and pieces of the puzzle that you are grateful for. No matter what is happening, when we are able to feel grateful for someone, for something, it helps to reduce any type of fear thoughts or distress, and it welcomes a more peaceful approach in our lives. Then the next week, we went ahead and we shared that God's toolbox was always open. And that's something that we have to remember, because sometimes we kind of feel like, what in the world am I going to do now? Or how am I going to do it? Or where am I going to get any idea as to what to do? Well, all we have to do is go within, take a look at that open toolbox, and have the opportunity to see it for what it is. And we chose faith last week. Now, faith is defined in so many different ways. But one of the scripture quotes that I really like is from Hebrews. It says, the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. And through faith, we affirm our inner knowing, to gratefully accept the ability to believe, to intuit, to perceive truth. Then last week was Father's Day. And looking back at my father, my grandfathers, my uncles, different teachers that I've had in my life, I spoke of the thought that we all shared a basic wish. And that wish was our wanting to be understood and our wanting to be understanding. So we affirmed mindful listening. When we are listened to, it empowers us to unfold and expand. And we share an alternating current between the two of us that recharges us and brings forth a renewed energy in which we recognize our true connection, our oneness. Now, from my perception, these are very powerful tools for us to have been sharing this month. We've picked them up, we've shared them, and hopefully we're using them a bit more. Now, we have to also take a look in that toolbox and see what's there. And yes, there's prayer, there's meditation, there's music, there's patience, there's trust, there's open-mindedness, gentleness, defenselessness, laughter, and even more and more and more. Well, as you could tell from the slide, I made a choice, and that was for grace. I had to really ask myself, what does grace mean for us? Particularly now, when there are so many seeming worldly changes in our lives. You know, the traditional meaning of grace, the traditional meaning that I grew up with, and probably several of you did as well, was that, and I was taught this from a very young child, I was taught that grace was God forgiving my sins. Grace was forgiving my sinful behavior, maybe. Grace was there to redeem me. And it was all about, you're not going to get it because you're not good enough. And you felt so much guilt that the blocks to love's presents were all in front of you, period. As a young mother, I then joined the Lutheran Church. And I did some study about Martin Luther because I was kind of intrigued with him making a shift, making a change in the way he preached. And one of the things that he taught was that grace could not be obtained by a person or sold by tithing or gifting as the church did at that time. So there was that opportunity for me to step back a little bit, take a look at grace, and recognize what he was saying, that grace was freely given. And God gave it to those that were most deserving and to those that we perceived most undeserving. Kind of like the rain falling on both the just and the unjust. Now, I have to admit, that felt better to me. And I like that. It was actually comforting. Well, I went through lots of different churches from that period of time, and I got to a point where I quit church. And then I had a lady friend that we were both insurance agents here in, well, it was actually in Sun City, but we lived in Phoenix. And she said to me, I think that you ought to come to church with me sometime. And I said, I don't do church anymore. And she said, well, I think you should come this time. Just come this once. And a few months later, I was into the study. You bet I was. I was studying science of mind. I was studying New Thought. I was studying Joel Goldsmith and Christian Science. And I read Joel Goldsmith. He said, to understand that your soul is the eternal storehouse of all good is permitting the activity of the Christ function in your experience through grace. I remember reading that and taking in this deep breath, and then reading it again and feeling in that moment a sense of total spiritual acceptance, understanding that my soul is the eternal storehouse of all good and is permitting the activity of the Christ love to be shared through me because that grace is within. Whew. I saw myself from a totally different perspective. And I had to really, really embody it thoughtfully, that God's grace is mine. There was no need for me to do penance. There was no need for me to do sacrifice. There was no need for me to do anything now, but be willing to accept God's grace. It was a new and holy day for me. It renewed my perspective in so many different ways. Grace means the gift of God. And every one of us has this gift within us. Joel Goldsmith defined it actually as sea of spirit, which we have tapped. Now, actually, it is the divine mind. It is oneness with God. It is oneness with all spiritual beings. By accepting this sea of spirit, that mind, which is also in Christ Jesus, we find that divine love pouring itself into expression, into our experience, so that we live by and through grace. Divine grace is a given. It's a certainty. It's part of what it means that God is love. Yes, it's a gift, and it's always available, and it's always been given. It's just awaiting our acknowledgement. Kind of reminds me of that idea that, has anybody been given a birthday gift from somebody that they love, and they've set it aside for a few months? I don't think so. I certainly wouldn't. I mean, I've had a few that I really love. But seriously, why would we set aside that gift of grace? Why would we not open that by opening our hearts, opening our minds, and truly looking at things differently with that vision of Christ's love? You know, I don't know how I cannot express my willingness to receive it. As A Course in Miracles says, your grace is given me. I claim it now. With this prayer, we are lifting our heart to God and accepting that gift of grace. Go ahead and say it. Say it with me. Well, let's say it 3 times. Your grace is given me. I claim it now. Your grace is given me. I claim it now. Your grace is given me. I claim it now. With this prayer, we are lifting our heart to God and accepting. And grace supplies everything that I believe that I lack. If you stop and think for a moment, in the scripture, God said to the Apostle Paul, my grace is sufficient for thee. So now, once again, what is grace? My experience in being Lutheran, I learned about Paul Tillich. And when I was putting these ideas together to share with you today, I went and I looked him up again. And he wrote that grace strikes us when, year after year, the longed-for perfection of life does not appear. When the old compulsions reign within us as they have for decades. When despair destroys all joy and courage. Sometimes at that moment, a wave of light can break into our darkness, and it really is as though a voice were saying, you are accepted. You are accepted. Accepted by that which is greater than you, and the name of which you may not know. Do not ask for the name. Perhaps you will find it later. Do not try to do anything new. Perhaps later you will do much. Do not seek for anything. Do not perform anything. Do not intend anything. Simply accept the fact that you are yourself. When I read that again, it was very, very clear to me. Grace is feeling accepted. Grace is having that deep and strong feeling that we are okay, here and now, and for all eternity. Grace is the awareness of the Christ love within us. Grace is actually synonymous with love. It is unconditional, impartial, and unsolicited. It is fully accessible to me, to you, to all. And we are called to remember that the grace of God is God's love in action. God's grace is unlimited and so wonderful that I'm not even sure words can begin to describe it. I mean, we can use such words as forgiveness and compassion and kindness and inspiration and generosity. Yes, we can do that to describe grace. But from my perception, they're hardly adequate to cover the fullness of its true meaning and power. It is through our acceptance of God's amazing grace that we can share the love, power, and creativity to build a better world. To build a world where children laugh and play every day, and they have a full and lovely supper waiting on their plates to be shared with a loving family. It is that opportunity to give ourselves permission to truly recognize what it is and how it is that we share, and what it is that we have to share, and the power of that sharing, and the truth of it. So we can build a better world where the lonely are embraced, the water is fresh, and the air we breathe is crisp and clean, where Mother Earth shines its peace with all living beings. A world where the hate goes away. A world where God's love and grace guide the way. James Dillard Freeman wrote, "Though God only can create, I till and weed, and then I wait. And in the thicket of my thought bloom flowers that I never wrought. I stand in wonder and behold beauty I never sowed unfold. Visions of faith, insights of love, truths that I had no forethought of. Somehow there is in me yet more than I myself might settle for. A faith that brings perfection out, past my own powers, I have no doubt. One day, all unexpectedly, the rose of Christ shall bloom in me. And yes, we will build a better world." I think we have amazing grace again before our meditation. I ask now that you close your eyes, focus your attention on your breathing, mute your computer if you haven't already, and give yourself permission to find a comfortable sitting space. Follow the natural rhythm of each breath, the gentle rise and fall. Feel it coming and going quietly, and let it gently guide and carry you deeper and deeper within. Deeper and deeper within, with the gentle rise and fall of each breath. Going deeper and deeper within. And now make no effort to think of anything, to focus on any thought. Try instead to get a sense of turning inward, past all the idle thoughts of our too busy and seeming chaotic world. Try to enter very deeply into your own true mind, that mind that is clear of any thoughts that divert your attention. Your heart is open, your mind is open. Holy Spirit comes and you sink deeper and deeper within. Any kind of interference and distraction, you quietly sink past them. You are present, here and now. And in your mind is a place of real safety. In your mind is a place of deep peace. In your mind is God's love. In your mind, within your heart, is God's grace. Sink gently into it. Feel it closing around you, gently embracing you. God's love, God's grace, gently embracing you. Release all your fear thoughts, those thoughts that cover your real thoughts, those thoughts that seem to block your eternal communion with God. Sink deep into peace that waits for you beyond this seeming frantic, riotous, and chaotic world. Releasing those sights, releasing those sounds, releasing that interference, not allowing the distraction. Now you are going within to your real home. You are going to that place where you are truly accepted and welcomed. We sink deep inward, away from our perceptions of the world, away from all our foolish thoughts of the world. We are now willing to reach past all those things, willing to leave appearances and approach reality. Sink below them to that holy place where there is no lack of peace, where there is no lack of love, where there is no perception of chaos and fear, where there is only safety. Let all those other trivial things churn and bubble on the surface of your mind and release them, letting them go. And reach down and below them to the kingdom of heaven. The grace within you, the awareness within you, the beauty within you, the creativity to build a better world within you. Now you rest in God. Now you are in that place where the strength of God abides. There in that place where nothing is impossible. There in that place where there is perfect peace. There in that place where there is perfect love. There in that place within you of God's grace. Now you rest in God. Now you are your true self. Now you rest in beauty, in creativity, in loving awareness, in acceptance. And again, we become aware of our breathing. We follow that natural rhythm again, the rise and fall of each breath. We feel it gently coming and going, and we let it carry us back into our home in this world. Carry us back to the sacred space that we have created for ourselves, for our families. Carry us back to an awareness of gratitude, to a commitment of faith over fear, to the choice for mindful listening, to be understood and to understand, to that place where we can build a better world. And so it is. Amen.
Go back one slide, please. We're giving you a few seconds to come back because that was a very powerful meditation. If you take a look, gladly renew amazing comfort every day. Grace is so comforting. It for me, it relieves anxiety, which is pretty neat. It makes me calm, makes me peaceful. It makes me just have a really awesome day. So to know that grace is there, thank you for that message. And the question is, how many times have you felt grace when all of a sudden you realize that grace has hit you for that day? This is one of those days. Next slide, please. Now, if you would please put your donations mentally to your heart, and we gratefully accept at our website, interfaithcommunity.org, or at PayPal, or you can send it to the Glen Rosa Avenue. Next slide, please. The glass is half full, the glass is half empty, the glass is on the floor. Okay, now let's say together.
Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I willingly give and all that I am open to receive.
We send you this blessing that your giving will increase sevenfold in your receiving. So we send that blessing to you. Next, please.
No, I drove too fast for years. I never could get past the tears. I kept my foot slammed on the gas until I hit the ditch and crashed. And the truth I had to face was that I knew I lost the race. I walked through the fire to know a new way to go. It's like that I love so. A simple life. Glad there's leaves out on the trees. A simple life. Glad there's birds that sing to me when it's a simple life I lead. And I'm getting all I need. A grateful heart, a peaceful mind. A simple life. I sit and watch a heaven fly across a deep blue summer sky. And when the breeze blows through the pines, you know I lose all track of time. And a hug from an old friend tells me love will never end. And I've come to finally see there ain't no need to change what works for me. A simple life. Glad there's leaves out on the trees. A simple life. Glad there's birds that sing to me when it's a simple life I lead. And I'm getting all I need. A grateful heart, a peaceful mind. A simple life. Well, I chased so many rainbows, but they ran off with the rain. Built castles out of cardboard, but they just got washed away. Now I drift off with changing tide and thank God for glorious Florida nights. A simple life. Glad to feel the ocean breeze. A simple life. Glad the sun shines down on me. Well, it's a simple life I lead. And I'm getting all I need. A grateful heart, a peaceful mind. A simple life. A grateful heart, a peaceful mind. A simple life.
Really has given us an opportunity to take a look at a simple life. And I think that one of the ways that we can appreciate that is with some of the things that we are doing on Zoom. I am just very grateful, particularly for the Sunday evening prayer circle that we do. It really has been a good start for my week, so to speak, and I'm grateful for everybody that attends. Please do join us tonight. We will celebrate Phil Dakin, and we will celebrate our country, our community, our families, ourselves, and yes, our world. I think that's one of the things that Paul did so beautifully in this song, is talking about how simple life can be, because we're pros at simply complicating it. There is no doubt. One of the things that I know that several of you do remember Paul, but he now lives in Colorado, and he is just a dear, dear musician and friend, and I really do appreciate him. Glad that we can share with him. The information as to how to follow up on that will be in the newsletter if you haven't already seen that. I hope you enjoyed the Father's Day newsletter, by the way. I thought it was great. I love having everybody sharing like they did. You know, hearing from Chaplain Lori about her son-in-law, hearing, you know, the story of Tony's dad celebrating his son's 40th birthday. Lindsay sharing about how happy she is to have the father she has for her children. Really, it's a powerful newsletter. And then, of course, Eddie sharing about his dad. And I remember his dad. I remember his music and his art. And well, what a gift it all was for us. So then, of course, we have the Course of Course. And please do join us with that. I'm going to be doing an introduction to the course again soon. If you would be interested in that, please text me, email me, or shout out loud and let me know. And then on Monday morning, we have the Joel Goldsmith book study, and I am so pleased that Sharonda is sharing that. I will attend as many of them as works for me because, as I said earlier today, very powerful influence. So that's tomorrow morning at 10:30. Wednesday, Karen Johnson will be sharing with us Wednesday evening at 6:30. And then on Thursday, we do the morning gratitude. And I have to tell you, the morning gratitude last week, we probably laughed for 45 minutes. And you know, as far as I'm concerned, laughter is a universal language. I just so enjoyed it. It was great. It really was. So, you know, take a look at these different things that we have going on. Join us when it works for you. And know that even when we don't see your face on Zoom, we still hold it in our hearts, in our prayers. You know, it's a wonderful opportunity to see you today. I'm grateful for that. But when I don't see you, I don't forget you. Now there is peace on earth. Now it begins with me. Now there is peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family, all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Now peace begins with me. Yes, this is the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Now there is peace on earth, and now it begins with me. The light of God surrounds us.
I am the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
I am the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
I am the power of God.
And the presence of God watches over us.
I am the presence of God.
Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. Due to God's amazing grace.
Hello. You can unmute, please. Let's see.
Those who wish